Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Bailey. I'm the manager of the Wahila Valley Added Product Development Center under Leeward Community College. We're excited to have you join us for this virtual session, uh, staying on the same page with your customers in 2025. In today's rapidly evolving market, staying aligned with your customers is more important than ever. So this workshop will really provide you with some practical strategies and theories to continuously validate your ideas, adapt to changing needs, and then ultimately be able to build a strong, resilient business. Leading today's session is business instructor Faustino Dagdag. We call him Dag. He's an experienced entrepreneur and a business consultant with a deep background in lean innovation and customer development. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dag.
Well, hello everyone. I hope you're having a great evening. It's a little chilly out there, which is nice. It's not super cold like the mainland, but it's nice to have a little chill, and so we can, hang in there and get a blanket or two, get warmed up. So this evening is really interesting from a standpoint. I'm assuming the subject isn't one for people who are just exploring. I'm pretty much assuming that most of you, if not all of you, are already running a business. And the reason I selected this particular topic in January is one of the things that happens to companies, especially startups, is that they become so busy trying to get new customers, trying to get sales, trying to get their business up and running, and that they make little small little miss. It shouldn't be called misstep. It's just the effort is trying to get that business, and they're not really watching if they're in tune with their customers. And this is really the start when this occurs. And in my past experience working with different entrepreneurs in different industries, when this starts to occur, no one really sees it. So you have to really have a conscious effort to look for it. And this is the reason why I selected this particular topic in January, because it's so crucial that every business, whether you're in there for 10 years or here for a year or less than a year, that you start to look at, am I still on the same page as my customers? Because if you're not, you're slowly going to drift away. And at some point, that customer will say, well, I'm going to go someplace else. So hopefully this evening, I'll sort of get you to start to think about, and this is about not giving you specific answers, but to get you to really think about it from your business standpoint, to look at your business and try to answer some questions that I'll be asking, and I'll give you some, hints about it. But I want to get you to start to really think in January, am I still on the same page as my customers? So, is there any questions before we get started? Just yell out. So this is my rule. If you got a question or comment, just yell it out, and we'll have a little chit chat as we go along. So, anyone has any questions or concerns right now? No. Okay. All right. So let's invest this remaining 55 minutes. I'm gonna put on my PowerPoint slide. I'm gonna share my slide. Let me get this squared away, and then we get started. So this is part of our Lean Launch series. The Lean Launch series is a new way in which we do startups, and this is the methodology that we're using at the Waipoa Value Added Product Development Center, because it reduces the amount of early startup failures. The Lean Launch methodology has shown that it substantially reduces the early startup failures. So this is part of that series. So let's take a look. First of all, Happy New Year. This is just the middle of January, but still a new year, and Happy New Year to all of you. And so, if you're watching the lunar calendar, it is the year of the snake, which is kind of interesting. So here's a question I want you to think about. Have you lost customers in 2024, and will you lose customers in 2025? I want you this is right now, I want you to make a mental note of it. Just give you about 10 seconds to think about it. Have you lost customers in 2024? And will you lose customers in 2025? Now you've thought about it for a while. The answer is yes. You go, what? And so it surprises a lot of people, but it's a fact that you will you have lost customers in 2024, and in the coming 11, 11 and a half months remaining, you will lose customers in 2025. And so you might want to look at, oh, why is that the case, Dag? You might want to ask. So let's take a look. First of all, I'm going to show you I used to teach a lot of customer service classes in my consultancy. I'm going to show you a statistic that most of you have already seen, but it's last dated from 15 years ago. Let's take a look at it. Why people stop doing business with you. And so this source year was 2009. So 1% die, 5% move, 10% poor product or service quality, 70% actions of a competitor to go and steal your customers, and lastly, 67% poor treatment by indifferent employee. Now, I'm going to show you, let's look at 2024. Similar, but it's going to have a really major difference. So let me show you 2024's version of this. Same question. 1% die, that hasn't changed. 2% move, it used to be 5. 5% from a competitor, it used to be 17. 14% are dissatisfied with your product or service, it used to be 10. Now the bottom number, 68% of your customers will leave your business due to perceived indifference towards your business from the customer. This is a major shift. And again, it isn't about that one employee who's really not customer service oriented. It's not about a specific person. This shift in numbers, 68% of your customers will leave your business because of perceived indifference towards your business from the customer. So what happened is, in the interim, it's called social media. E-commerce and social media has taken hold of the market. And now it's not about that singular employee or 2 or 3 employees that upset customers and that's the reason to leave. It's more about the total customer experience. It's now much larger, and you as a business owner need to be really aware what causes this total experience. So this evening is really about marketing, and we're going to talk about marketing quite a bit. But this total customer experience, again, has evolved because of social media, e-commerce, and all the things that we know that we call technology. And let me show you what this involves. So I'm going to start off with this 5 P's of marketing. So you can see up here that little blue square. It says target market. That's your customers. And the word alignment is over it. When your business is aligned with your target market, your product, price, promotion, and place creates, if you can see, they're the same color, they're the same size, and that's what we call position. You are in line with your target market. They agree with your product, they agree with your price, they agree with your promotion or communication, they agree with your distribution. And so in that position, let me go back. Good. Customers choose to continue. Now, what happens over time? If you're not really careful, over time, you'll make small adjustments in your product, small adjustments in your price, adjustments in promotion, adjustments in distribution. And if this occurs, you notice now that the product no longer matches the shape of the target market. That product is now a diamond, purple diamond. Now, maybe your price also has changed a little bit. Now, that price doesn't also match your target market. Or your communications, advertising, promotion doesn't match. Lastly, your distribution doesn't match. So it doesn't take all 4 not to match, because one of them could be not matching that target market, and that causes confusion. And when your consumers or your customers are confused, they may choose to leave. And this is what's been happening. What you're looking here is the total customer experience. If at any point, any one of these come out of alignment, what's going to happen is that your customer may become confused. And when confusion sets in, in their minds, well, I'm not happy with the product, I'm not happy with the price, I'm not happy with the communications, and I'm not happy with how I get my product. So they leave. So any questions about this little diagram I'm showing you? And when we talk about alignment, oh, they all good? All right, let's move on. So you saw, well, Dad, this is all about customer retention. You're absolutely correct. Customer retention is a reflection of a business ability to meet and exceed customer expectations. What's important about it, if you can increase your rate of retention by 5%, it increases your profits by 25 to 95% by a survey by the Bain and Company, which is a research firm. Here's what we need to be careful of. Customer retention is about building trust and loyalty to create an emotional connection. Now, with the social media environment as it is, everything has to do with emotional connection. That's the reason why so many people rely on these influencers or how many likes they get. They want to have some form of emotional connection, and it's no different between a customer and a company. So what we have to be looking at is how much connection, how much emotional connection are we generating so that our customers feel that, yeah, I want to stay here. I want to keep doing business. And I want to, if you haven't seen this, this is an interesting concept. It's called the Pareto principle. It says 80% of something, 20% of something will drive 80% of an outcome. So let's say that roughly 80% of all outcomes come from 20% of your causes. And interesting that 20% of your customers will drive 80% of your profits. It may not be by direct purchasing, but your 20% of your customers that drives 80% could be doing referrals. They could be talking great about your product. It may be, word of mouth. They might be on social media talking about your product or talking about your business. So even though it may not be direct purchases, they will drive customers into your business so that they will actually be contributors to 80% of your profit. And this is what we want to understand. We want to make sure that we're in line with the Pareto principle. Any question about this 80-20 rule? Over the years, I found that this principle actually holds up. I've been in businesses for 30 years, and I learned this particular principle a really long time ago, and it holds up. And whenever I did statistics on my the business I was running, it really showed up that this holds up. So you might be thinking about it as we move forward. So we're going to take a look at marketing. And so marketing isn't just about advertising and prices. So what we look at is marketing is the driving force of creating value, and your customers buy your product or your service based on the value that we receive. They want to have, now they know they have to pay for it, but what they get needs to be larger than what they pay for. So this is what we refer to as value. So when you look at the words creating, communication, delivering, and exchanging, that's the current terms that we use in marketing to create value. But it's long been converted to what you may have already heard, the 5 P's of marketing. And those 5 P's are product, price, place, which is distribution, promotion, which is communications and advertising, and positioning. These are the 5 P's of marketing, and we're going to take a look and have you sort of examine your business against some questions that I'll be asking, and we'll see if we can help you understand, are you in line with your customers or are you out of alignment? So let's take a quick look. So in this remaining 40 odd minutes, we're going to look at these 6 questions. Product or service, is the problem you're solving still the same? And is your value proposition still valued? Is your product or your service still valued by your customer? Or have they lost value because you haven't been keeping up with their needs? Pricing, are your pricing strategy and pricing still effective to your customers? Now, we've had a lot of ups and downs because of the economy moving so up and down that sometimes we make these price adjustments and we're not real careful that we may be changing how our customers react to our prices. Third, promotion and communications. How are you staying in contact with your customers to keep them interested in your business? This is critical. You have to have constant contact with your customers because you're always being faced from competition. And if they out communicate you, then you probably lose that particular battle. Place of distribution. Is your distribution channel still effective in serving your customers? Again, this is another place where certain areas of the economy have shifted in how they would prefer, customers prefer how they receive the products or services that they purchase. The last of five, positioning. Is your customer experience in alignment with your brand promise and your customers expect? Now, you have an idea of what your brand is promising, what that experience should be, but is your customers experiencing what you think they should be experiencing? And the last one, what have you done to show your appreciation for their support? These are the 6 questions that we'll be sort of looking at and having you sort of decide, yeah, is my business in line? Is it not in line? And what should we do about it? So let's take a look at the first category, product and service offerings. So when you're not in alignment with your customers' needs are always evolving. They're changing on a daily basis. And one of the things you want to be sure of is that as they change, as that need changes, they're looking for additional value, that you are changing your product or your service along with those changes. So some questions you might want to ask is, has the needs of your customers shifted? And has your offering shifted with them? Have your offerings unique value? The unique value proposition is what made the customer choose you in the first place. This is something that's special. It could be a special ingredient if you're in food, special way that something feels or looks if you're in clothing. It's a special solution that the customer says, yeah, this is the reason I'm saying it. Is it still valuable? Have you been innovating new product offering and service to build more value? And this is something that's interesting. You always have to keep your customers as they evolve. You always have to keep looking at your product or your service. Say, should I be introducing something more innovative? Should I be doing something? So this is where that old phrase you would always hear, renew and improve. So this is where we should start to take a look at how new and improved should we be. So let's look at some things I'd like you to take a look at. Things that you might want to consider. First one is segmenting your customers by their history with you and offering product services we segment. Now, if you haven't been segmenting your customers, you need to start to separate them out. Remember the 20-80 rule? You have to be able to understand who are my 20%, who falls into the 20 to 50%, who falls within that 50 to 100%. The reason is that your current customers, your old customers, may have shifted. And so the product that they originally bought no longer fits their need. But you can't just move along because you may have new customers that like your product because it actually fits their needs. So you have to look at the needs are moving on a continuum. Can you offer segments so that you can offer different segments the most appropriate solution to their problem in terms of product or service? And this is, again, a way for you to take a look at who are my 20% best customers and who are others. And so do I need to shift towards improving some part of my products to meet that early 20%? So that's something I want you to look at and look at your product or service offering. Can I segment it? The next thing to look at is to retest your offerings on a regular scale. Now, this is really good. Some people do it on such a critical basis, and the reason we want to do it, you got to test, retest your offering on a regular schedule, and to see if there is the functional benefits are working properly, or are there errors or malfunctions. Now, this is going to be important because you want to be the first to find the errors and malfunctions before your customers. So you have to sort of say every 30 days, every 60 days, whatever, you set the schedule and you test it. You test your product, you test it. If it's you're baking cookies, maybe the baker's dozen, the 13th cookie is actually a test cookie. So this is the kinds you have to be careful because you don't want your customers to be the first to find out that something has gone wrong. Once they find out and you say, oh, I didn't know that, then you may lose them. The next thing, examine if the problem you're solving still needs to be solved with the current offering, or is there a new problem that needs a new solution? This is, again, a question only you can ask and answer. Has that problem that I originally was serving, has it evolved? If I was selling cookies with big, giant chocolate chip cookies, has my market shifted so that they want bigger cookies, or maybe they want nuts now? You have to really look at, is it still the same problem that you're solving? And every business exists to solve a problem. The last thing on that line is ask your best customers if they have any suggestions for improvement. This is critical. This is part of the lean methodology. So always look back and do customer discovery, to go back and always make sure you're on the right page with your customers. So this is product service. Any comments or questions about this first area? Is all good? All right. Yell out now. Just yell out if you have a question or concern. Pricing. Now, this is really an area where it's really up and down. In the last several years, this pricing question has been so dramatic. And the reason is pricing is a reflection of the value perception your customers have. So the price that you're charging should reflect the value that your customers are receiving. If for some reason that's not happening, you have a little problem going on. So questions to ask, is my price reflecting the value customers will receive? And the typical one is, remember, shrinkflation, where the manufacturers have been shrinking the product, keeping the same price, but shrinking the product, trying to fool people to say that, we haven't raised our price. We really have. So you have to make sure that your price is reflecting the value customers are receiving. Next question, has my price become uncompetitive due to market conditions and trends? Maybe you haven't been watching your competitors. Maybe you haven't been watching the market close enough, and your price has become uncompetitive, maybe just temporarily. Third, are my pricing clearly communicating my value differentiation from my competitors? Your value differentiation is what made you special. That one area of your product or your service that made you special, and what your customer says, this is the product I want, this is the service I want. That's your value differentiation. And that's what you need to do to justify your prices. When you pay my price, this is what you're getting. So let's look at some things to consider. How about adding one or two more benefits to a product or service to increase customer value perception? Doesn't have to be large additions. So increasing the benefits received increases the value of the product or service to gain a competitive advantage. Again, it doesn't have to be major benefits. You just add something small and then announce it to your customers and play that portion of that. Now, I'm charging the same price, but I'm giving you something extra. And again, it doesn't have to be expensive. It may be some small little changes, but you have to look at what can I add to my current offering so that the value perception increases. And I think all of you can think of something really small that you can add to say that the benefits you get for the same price is increasing. This is critical for customers to stay. The other thing is that you want to be price competitive, but you want to be price competitive in the right area. You want to be price competitive in price sensitive segments only. Sometimes companies make the mistake of pricing everything as if it was competitive when they have only a certain part of their line, certain part of their product line or service line that needs to be competitive. What you want to do is to understand what product or service do I have that needs to be competitive because it's price sensitive. But if you have other products, you need to maintain the price based on what's called value price business, which means you're going to charge the right price because of that value. This is critical. Sometimes I see companies doing a major price drop, dropping everything in the line. And when they do so, they're losing a lot of their margin and a lot of their profitability unnecessarily. So take a look at that. And also, if you could offer some inelastic pricing means a product or service that doesn't matter if the price goes up and down, the demand stays the same. Usually, if you have accessories, those are what's called inelastic. So you might want to play up any accessories that comes with your product. Offer flexible temporary price options to sales promotions to build excitement. Now, this is, again, critical. So for some companies, I've seen some companies where they go out with one price and they never change it. And it really gets me confused. Why aren't you offering sales? Why aren't you offering some kind of promotion? And if in your case, what you want to look is you want to look at appropriate pricing, discounts or sales promotion occasionally, because what you want to do is you want to make sure that when you make these sales and promotions, it builds excitement into your business. Your customers get all excited. This is great. And they come back to you. If you stay with the same price and the same product with nothing to give them excitement, they may just walk away because they don't see that, I'm not getting anything special off of these guys, so I'm going to move off to somebody else. So again, build excitement with these and also stay price flexible by offering these, timely promotions and sales. Lastly, ask your best customers about your pricing and perceived value. Now, this is, again, part of the lean methodology. You have to ask your customers, now, what do you think about my pricing? Now, this is really tough. And I'm going to be really honest with you. When I ran businesses, that was one of the toughest questions I would ask my customers. And my customers would have a hard time answering, but you needed to know. You needed to know, what do you think about your pricing and what the value is? And sometimes you'd be surprised. Sometimes they used to tell me, maybe you should charge more. That's a good surprise. And so you have to also make a concerted effort to ask that question. So again, I've been rambling on. Anyone have a question or two or concern? No? Yell out if I'm moving too fast. Sometimes I get all excited and I move a little too quickly. And also yell out if I'm moving too slow. So right now it's about 6 o'clock. We're in about 32 minutes into our presentation. I always like to give my people a sort of a sense of how fast we're moving or slow we're moving. So it's about 6:01 right now.
I actually do have a question.
Yeah, what is it?
How do you know your perceived value based on your products, like to customers?
Mm-hmm. So when you have a product and in your mind, this is worth something, worth X. One of the things you want to do is you want to know what is it that's making it worth X. And that's what we call the unique value proposition. I'm going to use chocolate chip cookies. If you're baking chocolate chip cookies and your chips are coming from, let's say, Uruguay, and it gives you edge on the chocolate chip cookies because Uruguay has organic cookies. And so that's worth something. In your mind, it's worth maybe 25 cents more per cookie. You have to understand, if you think that is, you got to ask your customers, can you see that value? Can you see that 25 cents because my chocolate chips come from Uruguay? And this is the reason why that last ask your customers is important. Your best customers will tell you. Your best customers usually end up to be your best friends because they want you to stay in business. So what they're going to do is they're going to tell you the truth. But you may have to prod a little bit. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that answered it perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll give you my personal example. I went to an Italian restaurant just a week ago, and I used to go there on a regular basis. And I went there, used to go there with friends, just because the atmosphere is great, and we like their, they give you these loaves of bread, and it's really great. So one of the things we decided to go to that restaurant because we liked that little piece of bread. It was just perfect. And when we got there this past week, the bread that they gave us was dry. It was pretty hard. Wasn't the same. And from that point on, anything that occurred, the pricing was too high. Kind of interesting. It's like a piece of bread that you went there because you wanted that experience of that soft bread. As soon as you got that, we got that hard. There's 8 of us, so we all agreed, yeah, this is not the same. And so all of a sudden, the pricing of the entire meal wasn't what we expected. And so we thought this is overpriced just because of a slice of bread. Kind of interesting. Okay. Any more questions? Great. Ask away. So let's take a look at promotions and communication. This is one that sometimes people a lot sort of don't understand. Today's customers expect personalized experiences. They want to feel understood and valued by the businesses they patronize. They want recognition. So that little diagram on the list is the need for recognition. And this is at the heart of social media. Social media exists because people want to be recognized. And so a business has to have that same mentality. So when we look at your communications and promotion, mostly from the communication, how often do I communicate with my customers? When I do communicate, do I make it seem personal to them? Third, do I communicate on a regular basis the value of my product or service benefits and how it improves their lives? So when you communicate with your customers, you're making direct contact with them. Let me take it back. You're going to create your messages as if you're speaking to somebody directly. And this is interesting. And what I want to do is we take a look how this can be done. Because your customers are craving for recognition. So consider segmenting your market once again to customers provide personalized communication. If you can segment your market, you can select your best customers, your medium-sized customers, and maybe the ones that shop infrequently. You can create different messages for each group so that it seems you're speaking to them directly, as if you were, I'm only speaking to you. I think most of you are on social media, and don't you think those influencers, when you see influencers you follow, don't you think they seem to be just talking directly at you, when in reality they're talking to a couple of 100,000 at the same time? This is the things that you need to sort of look at in your communications to your customers. How often do I communicate? And when I do I make it seem personal? Now, this is important for those of you who are in brick and mortars and your customers actually come in. This is an opportunity for you to decide, what messages should I give them? I see Jane coming in 3 times a week. You should not give the same types of benefits to her as if somebody who comes in once every 2 months. This is what we mean by being able to be personal. They want to be recognized. If you don't already have one, create a customer loyalty program to build and track reward customer loyalty. This is critical. If you don't have one, create one. If you have one, make sure you stay on top of it. The reason is you want to identify that 20% that drives your 80% of your profitability. And you want to make sure that you communicate with them in such a way that they will continue to drive that 80%. Again, you have to decide what the message is, who I'm going to communicate to, and what am I going to be doing. But you sort of have to try and build a loyalty program, whether it's an old-fashioned card and stamp, or it could be online. It could be multiple ways to make them feel special. Third, provide a mechanism for your customers to communicate with you freely. Now, this is when the old-fashioned suggestion box used to come in. People say, "Oh, I need a suggestion box," and people used to laugh at it. The reality is, it does work. So whether it's this old-fashioned suggestion box where people will write things down and put it in a box, or you have your elaborate websites, your social media sites, most important, just talk to them. Just make sure you're in contact with them so that they can ask, and you can listen and respond. This is a critical part. They want to be heard. You want to, whether the response you give is what they wanted to hear, they just want to have some kind of response. So that's promotion and communications. And here's a tip. Whenever you communicate as frequently as you can, constantly remind your customers how your product or service is improving their lives. A lot of times I find companies, small companies and startups especially, they don't do this enough. The reason they came to you in the first place and bought your product or your service was that your product or your service was improving their lives. And if you don't keep reminding them, they sometimes forget about it. So you have to be conscious in talking about this. My product is blah, 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 whatever it is. So again, had that Italian restaurant I went to, sort of said, we have a new bread. How do you like the bread? Oh, bread's terrible. Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. And so, what would you like us to do? Well, could you get the old bread back? Oh yeah, we'll take a look at it. Because once they got the old bread back, it improved my life. So I mean, but they never asked. If they asked, I would have told them that bread is just terrible. Again, this is what it takes when we're working with this concept of the total customer experience. This is what drives business today. It's this emotional bond that can be created so that the customer feels like they're being appreciated, that they're being recognized, and they'll stay loyal. So place and distribution. Now, this is really funny. People sometimes don't think, companies don't think that the final handoff is important. And my perfect example is always Amazon. Amazon is known for the technology. And when you order things from Amazon, it's always technology, technology, technology. And guess what? At the moment in which you receive that package, it is a human being that's handing it off. So the point at which customers see their purchase is when distribution places most interesting customer satisfaction. Distribution is where human contact is most important. And this is where customers have a need for human contact. Yeah, so imagine if you're running a restaurant and you have DoorDash. No matter what happens in your restaurant, it doesn't matter if the DoorDash delivery person is really bad. That's your restaurant. If they're really good, that's your restaurant. So one of the things you want to look at is at the point in which your customer receives the product that they've purchased, whether it's from a warehouse or a counter or online, you have to make sure that you understand what's happening. So questions to ask: are my customers experiencing inconvenience when receiving their product or service? Are my processes unduly inconveniencing my customers? Third, are my customers being treated with truthfulness and respect? So those are 3 questions. And let's take a look at some considerations. This is, I believe, and when I ran companies, this is what I was really not even two. I really was one of those who was just a nasty about this because I wanted to find pinch points in our distribution. I wanted to find out where are we going wrong. So this is something that you have to do as the owner or manager. You need to pretend you're a customer and order a product or service, and then look to the entire process to see if there's pinch point. Is there too much paper? In this case, is there too many clicks online? How many of you have ever had the experience? I got to do 10 clicks to get to something. Yeah, it drives me nuts. So excessive customer wait times, errors in filling orders, rude personnel, slow response time. You got to experience this yourself because you have to check. Again, you don't want your customers to find out first. And it's also you want to make sure it's on a regular basis. Look for pinch points. Well, I'll give you one example, a latest example. So all of us order things online, and they usually ask, punch one for this, two for that, So I got online, I was ordering something, and it was asking me to fill in something. And it was one of those, you got dial up and you click your phone and get the response. Usually, if you make a mistake, you got to come back and you do it all over again. So if there's 10 steps and you make a mistake on 9, you got to go back to number 1. This particular company, I had the error. On the second error, they said, I understand you're having trouble. Let me directly send you to a customer service representative. I didn't have to go through the 10 steps 20 times. So this is, again, somebody said to them, your system's bad, and you came up with a new, after 2 tries, we send you to a human being. It's kind of interesting. Determine if your distribution system meets your customer's expectation. Again, ask your best customers if they have any suggestions for improvement. This is always an interesting way to get some answers in terms of how is my business doing. Simply ask, are there any suggestions for improvements? And then I say, everything is fine. Or they might say, well, you may want to do this, but that's an easy way to get to find out if something's going wrong. If you don't already have one, create a customer satisfaction survey regarding receiving your product or service. Always have one of these surveys. When, again, if you can't do it if you're running a bakery and you're selling dozens and dozens of donuts, but at some point, if somebody, buys 36 donuts, you might want to say, could you sort of figure, ask some of these questions a little bit. I'll give you a free donut if you do so. You got to figure out, again, at the point of which they receive the product or service, you got to know, what are they thinking? What are they feeling? Lastly, on that list, constantly train employees on customer service as defined by your brand. Now, this is again an area where if you have understanding of what your brand is, you have to train your customers into performing up to that brand. If you're saying you're the number 1 quality, you got to make sure your employees are performing at number 1 quality. You can't say my brand is number 1 quality and your employees are not performing at it. But if you're saying my brand is a great middle solution, then make sure your employees understand what your brand stands for, and make sure that you are training them up to the standards of that brand. Any questions right now? Any concerns? We have about 12 minutes left. Any? No? You all good?
I did have one question.
Sure. What is?
So how do you create like an impressionable online website with or I guess like a good presence online for your products to be on a website? Like, how do you create that impression? I guess.
That's a great question. I like the question. If you understand your brand, then phraseology, or even coloring, will match what your brand is like. So this is something it falls in the area of art and creativity. But if you understand your brand and you know what your, so if, for those of you who don't, may not understand, I have a brand and I know what my brand should be conveying to my customer. My customer sees my brand and spirit, I know what they should be feeling at. And so that you have to convey to a website creator or look at it and say, this is what makes me feel this way. Does that make sense? So again, it's all about emotion. Now, this is really, really important. Today's market is about emotional connections. It isn't transactional anymore. It's about emotional. And so that's why websites are so important. Phraseology website, so all of this creates that total customer experience. And the other thing that's important is that when you have that understanding of your brand and what you want your customer experience to be, you become so unique that it becomes a competitive advantage. So let's get into the final two areas, which is positioning. In today's competitive market, creating a personalized customer experience has become crucial for business. And it's all about belonging to a community. So that's the essence of positioning. When a company has position in the marketplace, it's created a community, and people want to belong to this community. They want to say, yeah, I'm an avid I buy that brand or I like this. They like to belong to a community. And this is where, if you really do it in line, you create positioning. So the questions to ask are, does my customers understand my brand and benefits of my product or service as they see the brand? Again, similar to, talked about that presence online. Be sure that your customers sees the brand the way you see it. Does my brand deliver on my customers' expectations? Wow. Is my value proposition, which is the product or service that you're selling, still valued by my customer? Now, the answer to this might be kind of simplistic, but it's at the heart of the lean methodology that is currently how we reduce failure rates. And the answer is constantly ask your customers' feedback on their experience and satisfaction with your product, service, and brand. Listen to the response and pivot and adjust to be in alignment with the expectation. This is really critical in that if you have to get positioning, you have to make sure that you have position, and the only person who can tell you is your customers. So I'm going to show you a short video and sort of exemplifies how this works. So let me, again, showing videos on Zoom is something complicated. It's a two-step process. So I'm gonna try to get this right. Okay. So
how did you know that the customers need?
Well, it's a two-step process. I gotta stop share, and now I can get the video back up. Now, yeah, yellow if you don't hear us yet. So here it is.
Hey, Dag, there's nothing on screen.
What was that?
There's nothing on the screen.
Can you see it?
I cannot.
Okay, let me try this again. Did you see it this time?
And then since becoming Tailwind, I'd say there's been, every.
Can you see it or no?
Yeah, I can see it.
How did you know that the customer's needs changed? Is there a certain mechanism, or did you do a survey? How did you find that out?
Yeah, so and I'll say even going back in time, Tailwind is actually the result of two pivots, and so I won't go through the whole history lesson on our company and our business and where we evolved from, but we went through earlier iterations of the company where we were kind of hitting on some needs, but not as much, right? And eventually we learned and got to a better place, and even then, since becoming Tailwind, I'd say there's been every 6 to 12 months, there's either some new need that pops up in the market that we have to, roll with and adapt to so we can serve people better. But the main way that we really figure this out, to the extent possible, is talking to customers. And we try to do that as much as we possibly can. And asking questions that sometimes lead them to tell us really hard, uncomfortable things, right? Because people don't want to tell you things like, oh, your product doesn't quite meet my needs the way it used to. That can be a really awkward thing to say,
Right.
or even saying it in different ways. But kind of guiding them there and making it okay to give the hard feedback, because what you want to learn is, where is it not connecting? Where are you getting it wrong at the moment, so that you can get it right in the future?
How did you know that the customer's needs changed?
So that was a short video. Again, it epitomizes what we've been discussing this evening. Just two more slides, and then we're done for the evening. But I want to go back to slides, positioning. I got one more question, which is actually the sixth question. Write down, what have you done to reward your most loyal customers? So I'm going to let you about 30 seconds to think this over. What have you done to reward your most loyal customers? Uh, 30 seconds are up. So hopefully you've written something down. And hopefully you've written something down that you've already done. But if you haven't, reward them for 2024 in the next 30 to 60 days. It's critical. And the reason is that by rewarding your best customers, you are confirming that they are making the right decision and they have this need to trust. They need to trust that they're making from you, that they are making the right decision to staying with you. So again, if you haven't done so, try to see who that 20% is. If you can't figure out the full 20%, figure out your best customers and give them some kind of reward. Again, it doesn't have to be large, doesn't have to be expensive. It could be something simple. They need to be given reassurance that you appreciate them and you appreciate their loyalty by rewarding them. And you'd be surprised how many of these major corporations are doing this same type of rewarding at this very moment. It's usually done within the first 30 to 60 days of a brand new year. The reason is that they want to solidify the trust in the customer, and that 20% or 30% will go off and drive more businesses in the upcoming year, just because you've confirmed that we have a trust relationship. This is really important for you to do. So let me stop sharing. Sort of lost. Hey, Chris, I think I may have lost something. There you go. Did you see the last slide?
I didn't catch that last slide.
Did you see
You wanna
that?
share it again?
Let me share it back up again. I just looked up and I realized that that last slide wasn't up there. It's right here. Okay. No, let me skip all the way down to that last slide. I want to make sure. I want to make sure. I just want to get this last area. It's super important. Because again, what you want to do, and this is the last presentation slide, is you want to reward those customers and you want to build trust, and those group of 20 to 30% of your customers will drive your business for the rest of the year. But you have to reward them early. Again, many large corporations and small companies as well are doing this month. And if you can't do it this month, if not, go into February, especially the Valentine's. Do something to show them that you appreciate their business. So any questions or comments right now from anyone? Okay. Two more slides. And this one is, for all of you here, there's limited one-on-one complimentary consultation with me, either in person or Zoom. And if you want to have that consultation, just notify or contact the Wahiawa Value Added Product Development Center and say that you would like to have a consultation, rather in person. Or say if you want in person, it's probably going to be at the Wahiawa Value Added Product Development Center or on Zoom, and we can schedule a session where we can just talk about what you have on mind, and we can sort of talk story. And the last slide is Mekea Aloha Pumiana. Thank you so very, very much for coming this evening. So
Awesome. Thank you so much.
We are
Dag.
just at 6:29. So thank you
Perfect
so much
timing.
for your time.
Dag, thank you. And to everyone that joined us, thank you so much for spending your evening with us. As Dag mentioned, for taking part of the session, you get a complimentary session with Dag. We'll send a follow-up email with details, and also we'll send a link to this recording so you can refer back to it. And this is just one of several programs and webinars we do out of the Product Development Center. This particular session is part of Dag's Lean Launch series, which he offers monthly. So probably the best way to stay up on everything we're doing is via our newsletter or also our Instagram. Our handle is Wahiawa Food Innovation. For those that haven't been to the facility, if you wanted to meet Dag on the facility for a consultation, that'd be incredible. Otherwise, feel free to schedule a tour at your leisure. You go to our website to find out more information on that. And so with that, if there aren't any questions, we'll definitely hope to keep in touch, and we'll let you get on to your evenings. How do you sign up for newsletter? Yes. Let me drop in our website in the chat. It's just leeward.hawaii.edu/WVAPDC. Click through there, and then right in the header, you'll be able to see a link for either scheduling a tour or signing up for our e-newsletter. And we do a monthly e-newsletter, keeping everyone up to date on all the activities we do. We do everything from these webinars to awesome hands-on workshops. We're doing one actually this Friday with Waiahole Poi Factory at the center, repounding poi. So we do all sorts of things. And you can also learn more about our entrepreneurs and our just basically the different folks using the center and taking part in the classes as well. So yeah, we hope to see you at future sessions, both online and in person. And hope to see, if you're a business owner and you have a product, hope to see your products in real life real soon. Dag, any parting thoughts?
Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us this evening. I hope to see you in future workshops or at the center. It's even better. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you, Dag. It was very
Thank you so
informative
much.
with your sales. And Chris, I'll see you on Friday for the taro.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll see you then, Derek. It'll be a good time.
You guys take care now.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.